What's going on, guys, and welcome to WWE Network and Chill, where every single week I, Graham Jason Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network as well as on the E! Network, as today we're talking Season 8, Episode 9 of Total Divas, entitled A Sisterhood Beyond Blood. This episode featured the continuation of the girls' Lake Tahoe trip from last week. Last week's show had way more bad blood than this one, which was good. We needed a bit of a break from that. Last week's show had Lana and Paige bickering back and forth, fucking fighting, getting physical, getting real nasty. So thankfully that was settled on last week's episode. This was the penultimate edition of Total Divas in Season 8. I found that out after watching it. The Season 8 finale will air in 2 weeks. No new episode next week, so I'm not sure if I'll do 2 Network and Chills or just 1. I'm not sure yet. But the Season 8 finale, which I will be reviewing, of course, will be airing in 2 weeks on Wednesday, November 28th. So just a bit of a heads up for that. But like I said, the Lake Tahoe trip continues on this show. We'll talk about that momentarily. Real quick, though, we got to talk about the side story with Trinity, a.k.a. Naomi, and John, a.k.a. Jimmy Uso, which started on last week's episode. Trinity was the only girl of all the girls on Total Divas that did not go with the rest of them to Lake Tahoe because she had some family stuff to deal with first. That being her drama with John and telling her him that she wants to move. She wants to go back home to Atlanta. She doesn't like Pensacola at all, and she's been looking at apartments in Atlanta without him knowing. So they talked about it at an episode of SmackDown, a SmackDown taping on last week's show. It got nowhere. They keep bringing it up, and they never really solved the issue. So Trinity sits John down at their place, and she goes, "Look, I just really, really, really want to move. I cannot be here any longer. I know you're here for your kids from your previous marriage or whatever it was, but I got to go back to Atlanta. I'm just not happy here." And she feels like that she's no longer living her true life there. She's not really living life to the fullest in Pensacola. So she wants property in Atlanta. And she also says that I'm getting an apartment no matter what. So she's very adamant about that. John Uso does not exactly take it too well, but that's the last we hear from John on this show. Because from there, she joins the girls parasailing in Lake Tahoe. And then, I'll just talk about it now, but they have dinner at the end of the episode. She wants to get it all out, and she gets upset about it. And she admits that she fears that she and John won't be together forever. They won't be that old married couple that's together forever, that they're going to break up or divorce before then because of their difference in opinions and where they want to live. And she also feels like she's losing herself, too. And Nia Jax says, listen, that's the type of situation you get in when you marry someone with kids. And they have to be near the kids. But you also cannot sacrifice too much yourself. Like the person who doesn't have the kids will sacrifice way more than the person with kids in respect to that relationship. But at the same time, it can't be the other person entirely sacrificing everything. Like John Uso has to realize that he's got to do what makes her happy too and not just him. So hopefully we get a bit of a wrap-up on that side story on next week's, or rather the series or season finale. It could be the series finale. I doubt it. I'm sure it's just the season finale in 2 weeks' time, so hopefully we get a bit of a wrap on that in 2 weeks. Back to the Lake Tahoe trip, though. Lana feels like the outcast out of all of them. That's her biggest fear. So Paige goes around. I mean, Lana talks about it here, about feeling like the outcast, which she kind of sort of is, because a lot of people on the show don't like her, but they all get along, whatever. Paige asks everyone, what is your biggest fear, and what do you want to do to conquer them during the course of this trip? So Lana says she feels like the outcast. Nikki says commitment, and Brie Bella, for whatever reason, it's kind of something personal to Nikki Bella, but Brie brings it up anyway, that Nikki writes poems. So Brie says, oh, why don't you write a poem about commitment? And she's like, oh, yeah, and she's not exactly thrilled with the idea because Nikki doesn't feel comfortable doing that. Nia Jax breaks down. She talks about her humble beginnings and how her family, she's on this great trip, but her family's not there to enjoy it with her, like we've seen this before with her. I forgot what she said her fear was, but I know she brought that shit up. Brie Bella said Tahoe Tessie, the lake monster around Lake Tahoe, which is so stupid, but they have to promote something for this show, I guess. That's supernatural and will scare viewers, whatever. So she says one fear of hers that she wants to conquer on this show is Tahoe Tessie. So we'll see how that goes. Lana says fitting in is her big thing. Like I said, because she feels like the outcast. She feels like, I don't know how she's going to conquer that. I forgot what she said or how she said she would conquer it, how she planned to conquer it. But that's her biggest fear, is fitting in. So all the girls go parasailing. Natty is nervous as all hell. I think that might have been her biggest fear, is going parasailing or being up in the air. Not in the water, that was Paige's thing. Paige can't swim apparently, so that's her biggest fear. And that's a bit more serious than all the, commitment, Tahoe Tessie. Like, the fact that she can't swim and that she's scared of water is a much more serious fear. I mean, like, who am I to compare fears and personal emotions and stuff? But, like, let's face it, fucking Tahoe Tessie versus the ability to not swim is like, it's like night and day. But anyway, so Natty, they go parasailing. She's very nervous about it. She does not feel comfortable, but she does it. She ends up enjoying it a lot and getting over that fear in the process, I believe. So Paige admits she can't swim. She starts breaking down about that. Brie starts breaking down. Thank God. So it wasn't just the Tahoe Tessie shit on the show. She's also fearing that, it's overwhelming to have a kid because you're away from the kid when you go on a vacation like this. But she also doesn't want to get to the point where she's enjoying life away from Birdie Joe, because then she doesn't like the fact that she has a child or whatever she said. She said something along those lines where she wants to miss her child, but she also wants to enjoy the trip at the same time. So it goes back and forth, and she calls it very overwhelming. And Naomi's like, I think being away from your from Birdie Joe for a little while from your baby is a good thing, because it kind of reminds yourself of who you are, and you have to love yourself and enjoy yourself so you can miss your child even more when you go back, blah, blah, blah. So Trinity offering a lot of great advice on this show. So they go on a Tahoe Tessie tour, and it's all a bunch of bullshit, but they buy into it, specifically Brie. Nikki says that she feels like Brie put her on the spot with the poem stuff, but she's going to do it anyway. So they go tubing. Paige falls off the tube. She freaks out, as she should. I mean, the girl can't swim. I mean, obviously she has a life vest on. She's not going to drown. But still, she falls off the tube, and they go tubing. She's okay. I think she gets over the fear, maybe. Lana talks about her upbringing and how she was really, really disciplined growing up, and how that's why she feels that she doesn't fit in with other people, because she's not like other people. And then we get a bit of a flashback to when Rusev said, you can't farm. And Lana's like, well, I grew up on a farm. And he's like, oh, no, you city girl. And Lana, obviously, that hurt her feelings. And we talked about that, I think, here on the show. I feel like I did review that at one point. But yeah, so Lana's biggest fear is not fitting in, even though she feels like she can and or has the ability to, but her upbringing kind of, warped her into thinking that she wasn't like other girls. So anyway, the girls make food before they just order pizza, because the food does not come out all that well. Paige, quote-unquote, dresses up as Tahoe Tessie. She just puts on a fucking fishnet and some seaweed or something, and she tries to scare Brie, but I don't even think she tries to scare Brie. She, scared Trinity, maybe, or Nia Jax. I don't know. The whole thing was really, really strange. But she dresses up. It's all out of fun, of course, but it accomplishes nothing. So they all circle around. They all discuss their fears, and they go around praising each other, and they read off their fears and what they learned from this trip, and Nikki reads her poem, and everyone loves each other. Lana says that she's grateful for running right into her fears and dealing with them and conquering them on this episode. They all talk about having babies and when they plan to have kids, or the people that haven't already have kids, like that being, Brie Bella, of course. Beyond her, the other people are all talking about, I want to have a kid here, I want to have a kid, I want to have a kid then, and then Natalya says she wants to have a child. God save us all if that's the case. But they were all very happy for her, I guess because they probably thought Natalya never wanted kids. She's been married to TJ now for, 4 or 5 years, and I don't think she's ever once said anything about having children, so that's a big step for her. They all jump in the lake, and Paige is holding on for dear life, and then Nia says that she hopes this trip brings amazingness to all. And they kind of end on that positive note. So it's refreshing to have an episode of Total Divas that doesn't have so much drama. Now, I know it's a reality show, but sometimes you got to take a bit of a break from the drama and spread some positivity. And I thought the show was effective in doing just that. Now, granted, we did get some drama with Trinity and John discussing the moving thing, but really that was in the first 5 minutes of the show, even if that. And then they moved right along. But they had to address that, though, because you left the show on a cliffhanger last week. You can't come back to this episode and not address that. So again, hopefully we get a wrap on that in the Season 8 finale in 2 weeks' time. Hopefully you guys like this episode as much as I did. Be sure to check out the rest of the videos on my channel. Like this video, drop a comment, share the video. All that stuff is greatly appreciated. Subscribe as well. We'll be back with a new networking show probably next week, not for Total Divas, but for whatever airs on the network after Raw, if anything. We'll see. If nothing, then there might be no new networking show next week. We'll see. But I do know for a fact my next Total Divas review will be up in 2 weeks' time on the Saturday in 2 weeks from today, pretty much. It's going to be on that Saturday, my review of the season 8 finale of Total Divas, so stay tuned for that. But until then, guys, have a great rest of your weekend. I'm Graham Giusematthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.